Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Tour. Today, we're focusing on a design-driven material solution company which offers breakthrough, sustainable products that help bring your projects to life. Their approach, it promotes craftsmanship, community, sustainability, and a respect for the environments in which we live and work. This company is 3form, and they have an extensive product portfolio, which ranges from the most innovative materials to the more sophisticated turnkey solutions. With me today to discuss the brand and their latest product innovation, which embraces their technical yet softer side, is Christian Darby, Vice President of Design. Welcome, Christian.
Oh, thank you, Helene.
So, well, of course, when I say softer side, this is in reference to the new technical fabric which you designed for the Horizon collection, which one can find in your Varia products. So can you give us just a little insight into the new Horizon collection?
Yeah, sure. We started thinking about this one a couple years ago. So it has taken a bit of time to develop. And I think when you see it, you'll kind of understand why. But I started thinking about this idea of translucency, and for 3form, that's like one of our core languages. We believe that translucency and the way you control it can be very, very important in a space because it allows you to maintain connectedness while still preserving more or less privacy, depending on how you want to shape it. And then, of course, we love light, and as human beings, we love light. So to allow the light to come through and control some of the visuals, translucency is really important. So I started thinking, okay, how can we control translucency and then introduce color in an interesting, kind of thoughtful way? And then with my background, I spent almost 30 years as an apparel designer. And so I have a pretty extensive background in textiles and understanding what we could do with those. And so I thought, well, when we capture textiles in our Varia platform, the richness and the texture that we get from those is really quite stunning. And could we use a textile with a gradient in color, but also a gradient in translucency? And we knew we could.
And I think some of the magic of this collection is I think we're also caught up in the idea of perfection, and everything needs to be perfect and ordered and neat, that we capture in digital technology, especially. But I think for this one, it's about embracing a little bit of the imperfection and the nuances and the subtlety that can only come from this sort of crafted textile, correct?
Yeah, it's true. We can weave and we can knit perfect textiles, but one of the beauties of the Horizon collection is that we introduced various gauges of yarn and slubbiness in the yarn and irregularity in that yarn. And when you look at the way that transition is happening, it just adds kind of that warmth and wonderful kind of welcomeness into the material.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is obviously, so Horizon's not your first venture into incorporating textiles into your Varia product, correct?
Right. In fact, we've done a lot of textiles over the years. Even just this year, we launched a collection that we're calling our new classics. We started with one veil. It's a linen looking textile. And then we just felt like we needed a little more chunkiness, a little more irregularity to go alongside veil. So we launched 3 new ones that go alongside veil to kind of complete that look. So we're very good and very comfortable with textiles. And we also believe that textiles resonate well in space.
Well, it's amazing because I think a very tactile nature. So even if it's in sort of embedded into the Varia, it still creates that sort of tactileness that I think a lot of people are craving. But, Christian, you touched on it. So you do have an extensive background in textiles, and, you actually worked for quite some time at Nike before joining the design team at 3form. So, and we all know Nike is all about textile innovations. And I'm wondering how you sort of captured and really garnered that knowledge base you have and incorporated into the design of the Horizon collection.
Yeah, with apparel, it's kind of fun. I started my career way back with Ralph Lauren, and you learn early on that fabric and material become such an integral part of apparel, and so early on I identified that it would be important to understand what we could and couldn't do with textiles, and then how we push those limits. And then at Nike, obviously, it's an amazing vehicle and such a wonderful company to learn and grow and develop alongside. The last 5 years of my career there, I spent in the innovation department, working a lot of the time on how do we take traditional textile weaving machines and push them to do things and create performance envelopes that we hadn't seen before. And so taking that knowledge and then partnering with industry or a mill like Creation Bauman, we could see that they had the expertise. They could understand my language and what I wanted to accomplish, and even the intricacy of, we wanted to use different gauge yarn, starting with quite a heavy gauge yarn and then moving up to a fine yarn, and they understood how to do that. So I think we were able to sort of take their history and years of experience and couple it with mine and come out with this amazing new textile.
So you found a really great partner with Creation Bauman for this new collection. What really sparked the collaboration, though? Like, how did these minds of Creation Bauman and 3form really come together? And was it just their technical expertise that really was their contribution to the design of the textile?
Yeah, I think when you're thinking about design, and obviously I come through the lens of design, but I believe that when a designer has a really clear idea and picture of their vision, then it makes those partnerships work more effectively. And so I came to the table with a pretty clear idea of, this is what I need it to do. And Creation Bauman was a perfect partner because they have that technical expertise to execute and, of course, augment. Right. So anytime you're working with a partner, when you can sort of come to the table from a little bit different perspective and then collaborate and come out with the best of both visions, it's best. And with Creation Bauman, that happened. I actually went over to Switzerland, toured their facility, worked with their weaving experts and their technical experts to try and understand how they could bring it to life and bring this vision that is now Horizon.
So do we see some future collaborations with the folks from Creation Bauman?
I think so. Creation Bauman is a longtime partner. We've worked with them for a number of years, long before I came to 3form. And it's always a joy when you get to work with an expert, and they are experts. So yeah, I think we'll keep working on more ideas. We have a few things in the bank.
I was gonna say, I'm sure you have things brewing back there that you just can't talk about yet.
One of the things that's fun about 3form is that we pull from all these different influences and elements of design. We work with a Nepalese factory that started their history making prayer scrolls for the monks in Nepal, and we use them in our Fray product. So we get to work with those kinds of amazing experts. And then on the far side, we have the technical expertise of someone like a Creation Bauman that is very technical and advanced. And so, working with those kinds of partners, it's fun. You get a lot of ideas in the bank and have fun getting that.
Well, I mean, obviously, speaking of technical expertise, while there's obviously sort of a beauty in what seems like very simple textile design in Horizon, there was actually a very complex weaving process for the collection, correct?
When you think about what we were trying to do, this idea of controlling translucency, providing a little bit more privacy in a seated position, and then allowing a little bit more light, maybe a little bit more visibility at the top of the textile, and then ultimately the panel. There is some technical challenges there. We thought about maybe two ways we could do that. One way was, do we control the density of the yarns that we're using? So are they compacted tighter at the bottom where we want a little less translucency, and open up a little bit at the top? The other way we thought about doing it is yarn gauge. Can we use a coarser, heavier yarn at the bottom to give us that slightly less translucency, and then a finer gauge yarn at the top? And we ultimately presented that to Christian Bauman, and we decided to do both. So we have a coarser yarn becoming finer, and then we also have a compaction that changes so the yarns get spaced out more as they go across to the top.
I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but like obviously nothing good happens overnight, as we all know. And you know, this collection really did take 2 years of development. But were there other challenges that you really encountered in terms of the design or manufacturing process for Horizon?
I mean, you kind of hate to say like pandemic, COVID, it slowed us down a bit. But no, we didn't find any sort of unexpected challenges. I think I kind of knew enough about the textiles to sort of have a pretty good idea of those expectations. And then again, going back to, I always find that as designers, when we can frame up really clearly, it makes it easier for our partners, and Creation Bauman was fantastic. So yeah, I don't think we had any unexpected. And then our history of, you know, embedding textiles in Varia help, because we don't have any unexpected challenges there.
Mhm. Well, I mean, you ultimately created a really beautiful textile, and it comes in these three rich colors. And I'm curious about what went into the development of the color palette and why you sort of limited it to just three colors.
Yeah, it's a design's interesting because, you know, our nature often is we want to expand, we want more. But you also learn as you advance in your career that editing is such a critical component of design. And so color became part of that edit. You know, it would be amazing to do 20 colors, but then the choice becomes a little expansive. So 2 years ago, we were looking at our colors, and we have this amazing 250 color system. And we could see that it was really valuable to our designers, but it was also kind of like everything. You know, it's
A
like,
little
hey, here's
overwhelming
all.
sometimes, I'm
Yeah,
sure, right?
yeah, Helene, I think that's the way to put it, is it's sort of overwhelming. And so we could see like, hey, we have a history and expertise in color, so let's maybe do an edit. And so 2 years ago in 2020, we launched the first kind of edited color palette for Freeform. It had 13 colors in it, and it was based on what we saw happening in the marketplace. And then this last year, we gave an updated palette. And I think this last year, it might have had 12 colors or maybe 11. And we're seeing a shift to the neutrals and to kind of those softer, warmer colors. And so our palette represents that. And as we started thinking about the Creation Bauman textile, we decided we would work with the palette that we have and then look at which colors are matching. Because when you're working on a gradient, you're gradiating from one color to a second color. And so we chose colors from that palette, and we ended up with, I think we ultimately ended up with 10, and then so a total of 5, and then we edited it down to 4, and then ultimately we edited it down to these 3 colors.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, do you foresee in the future expanding upon that, maybe including the other two that didn't make the original cut?
As we look at where Freeform's heading, color will always be important, and so it's always a lever that we can pull in design. And you know, I I mean, why wouldn't this amazing Horizon collection expand?
Mhm.
You know?
Well, speaking of expansion, let's just talk about the fact, because there's sort of two parts to Horizon. So obviously there's the beautiful textile that you partnered with Creation Bellman on that you can find in the Varia product, but there's also your etched glass um, collection that is part of Horizon. And I'm curious, like, how you translated what is the technical fabric into this etched patterning on the glass.
Yeah, it's a great question. As we were starting to get samples of the Horizon textile and starting to look at the beauty and the fact that it was actually working, we were seeing, this gradient in color and gradient in translucency. We started thinking like, well, what about some other materials? And glass was just a natural. Um, but glass is different. It's special in its own unique way. And so we looked at, okay, how would we bring this to life in another material like a glass? And etching was a natural process for us. We're really good at etching, and we have some IP around how 3form etches glass, and it gives us great control and flexibility in how we uh, execute that process. And so we decided, well, what would happen if we interpreted that heavy gauge yarn graduating up to a fine yarn in an etch pattern? And so we started there, and we did it on clear glass, and we loved it. And it was quite elegant, but we could see that we were just missing another little component, and it was that component of color. So rather than do just a direct interpretation and do a gradient in color, we felt like with glass, we believed that just a simple solid color combined with this edge pattern would be stunning and amazing. And as we started sampling it and then doing big panels in it, we just fell in love with it.
And of course, and with your editor hat on, you came to 3 colorways
Yeah,
for the class as well.
we did. Yeah. I mean, the business is part of that editing process,
Yeah.
right? It always is. It's one of the things I love about design is about a business. It's not just beauty, it's not just art. And so when you look at that, you start to see the value that design can bring in that editing process to make sure that we give enough choice. And we felt like 3 with the glass gives us enough choice.
Definitely. And,
Yeah.
and trust me, I get that. I think for any designer, whether they're on sort of the product side or on the interior side, that might be the hardest part, is editing oneself. Like, you're so in the midst of it, it's hard to take that step back in a way and be like, maybe I don't need all of that. Like, and this will be just as good as a product in the end if I take away. So I definitely feel you. You spoke about it earlier, and I really appreciate the sentiment that you put into the collection, in your thought about what environments will be like, what they were and what they'll be like moving forward. And there is this idea of sort of like, we all want to be separate for safety, but together, right? And this idea of like sort of public versus private. And that's really expressed in this beautiful gradation that you put obviously so much thought into, correct?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Helene. When we at 3form, we talk about connectedness, and it's sort of another one of our core attributes. Varia has a special warmth to it as a material. It just feels a little softer in your space. And then, of course, when you start adding color and texture, it just becomes rich and inviting. Um, and we believe when we talk about connectedness that we want division at times in our space. We may have a conference room where we need a little bit of privacy. We may have an office where we need a little bit of privacy, or even an open space where we're trying to divide it visually. But as human beings, we like to still feel connected. And I think that's one of those sentiments we're all exposed to over this last year, is we're feeling a little disconnected. Like, wow, I've been at home for a little too long. I'm kind of anxious to get back and see my friends and peers and coworkers. And Varia can do that because it allows you to enjoy that privacy, but still feel and see through that translucency that there's something happening. There's somebody on the other side of that partition.
Mhm.
So it's just a really great material for that.
And I loved you spoke about at some point about like the shadows that it creates of like the human movement behind these sort of translucent, partitions.
It does. And that's part of that. You can tell like, oh, somebody just walked by. I'm not in this building alone.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's activity happening.
Yeah. Well, I think right now we're really desperate for the
For sure.
activity.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you definitely, put a lot of thought, obviously into the way natural light interacts with it, the sense of translucency, but also just the versatility. And obviously we touched on the colorways, but there's different sizes and gauges to the partitions that really offers solutions to designers' needs. But like, how do you really envision designers integrating Horizon into their projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes when you think about starting in that design process, you're kind of imagining like, okay, we're targeting this particular design for maybe a healthcare segment, and we just think it'll resonate really well. Or we love this in like a corporate environment. And with Horizon, it's it's almost like this amazing chameleon. Like when you think about who doesn't want texture in their space, who doesn't want this kind of rich color, and then you mentioned earlier this kind of beautiful irregularity. Like we're all kind of drawn to that as designers and as humans. And so when we started getting the textile in and then crafting the varia, we could see that, wow, this would be amazing in a hospitality environment. It would look gorgeous in corporate or healthcare. It might brighten the space. And so I think this particular one feels like it's pretty broad as far as how it could be used.
Mhm. Well, of course, we're living in a time where the health and well-being of an individual is more important than ever. So, and I do know that Horizon and really a lot of the freeform products really speak to the needs that designers have to create sort of safer spaces for inhabitants, but also better spaces that really help with the well-being. Because, I just think of your comment about natural light and the way it interacts and the fact that it's one tenet of like how to improve an inhabitant's well-being.
Yeah, I mean, light's so important to us, right? I mean, we live by it, and of course, the Horizon collection does that so well. It helps us manage and control and allow light. We have about a year ago, we launched a new ethos called Align for Freeform, and it's this idea of aligning people, product, planet, and all of our products go through that lens as well. Varia as a platform is very successful from a sustainability standpoint, and we believe that's super important too. And so the benefit on the back end of having it go through those kinds of constraints and making sure that we comply with this amazing high benchmark of sustainability also speak to the wellness of people. And then the experiential side of, wow, that's beautiful, we love to have beautiful spaces, and that speaks to our health and wellness. And then the light. So there's just a lot of different factors happening when you think about the wellness.
Well, I mean, of course, in the midst of a crazy pandemic, you do decide to launch a much more aggressive sustainability program. I mean, how does Horizon really address the demand for more sustainable products just in general?
I think as designers, we're all looking for, more and better sustainable products. You probably remember last year we launched Fleck, which is about 80% recycled from our own products. Um, we're working on expanding that beyond the 80%. I'll just give a little nod to that. Another one of those sort of in the works. Um, and so all of our Varia platform, we take through that lens, and it's highly recycled as base products. And then we're pretty sustainable on our manufacturing process as well.
So why do you think for Freeform, it is so important to push forward with a stronger sustainability program and message and ethos, for the design community.
I think all of us have to be agents of our earth. And as designers, because we have such an important part in culture and where we're going as a planet, I think we have this opportunity to drive towards better or the other direction. And at Threeform, we believe that we have this opportunity to help designers and partner with designers to drive to that better side. And we believe that being sustainable and increasing that sustainability each year is really important as a planet, because when you think about the earth, every resource we have comes from the earth. We don't import outside of the earth. And so if we're not good caretakers, then we're going to deplete those resources. And we recognize that. We see in manufacturing processes where people aren't guarding those resources. And so we feel like we want to be contributors to guarding those resources for all of the planet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's completely commendable, and we obviously can all do a lot better and moving forward and moving towards that, and taking it day by day, step by step. But of course, Christian, time flies. And, I just want to say that, obviously I'm appreciative of your time and your insight, obviously, into Threeform and the New Horizon collection, and really everything that you're doing to contribute back to the well-being of the earth, and obviously to your community as a whole, and to our wonderful audience out there. I want to ask you to please make sure to check out the Threeform website to learn more about Horizon and, of course, about their sustainability program. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Sharp. I am the homes editor for Luxe Interiors and Design, and I want to welcome you to our Ultimate Kitchen Takeover and our True to Food Innovation for Technicurian Home Chefs with Rod Gower and Chef Nick Ritchie of Signature Kitchen Suites. Hi, Rod. So good to see you.
Hey, Shannon. Good to see you as well.
So I would kind of like to just start out by talking about Signature Kitchen Suite in general. Your consumers are, quote unquote foodies, I guess, what you would call technicurians. They are at-home chefs, but they're early technology adopters. And so I would just love to talk about your Signature Kitchen Suite's True to Food motto and how it speaks to those customers.
Sure. So to your point, we call them a technicurian. I like to think of them as tech native Epicureans. That's kind of, you pull it all together, you get that fun little term technicurian. Right. So that, if you look at that consumer base, which doesn't really have a demographic, so to speak, really, it kind of spans. It's very large. But what it is, it's about curating their products. So a lot of people today are being very cautious and conscious of what they're buying and what they're putting in themselves. So from our refrigerators, whether we're talking about food preservation, all the way to our ranges, whether we're talking about how you're cooking it, the whole journey about True to Food is what Signature Kitchen Suite products are bringing out to the market, and that's what we brought with our award-winning design and style on the ranges and our refrigeration.
That's great, and you have so many ovens, ranges, refrigerators for the wine aficionados, wine fridges, which may be my favorite. Could you kind of elaborate on what makes them special?
Sure. So all of our products are going to have technology embedded in them. I'm going to call it very intuitive. So whether you're using our digital knobs, what we call our smart knobs, they all have digital timers built into them that'll connect Wi-Fi to any notifications that you may have on your phone using the applications that we have. So the Signature Kitchen Suite app, I get push notifications on my range when the oven's ready, timers go off, whatever it is. I also get notifications on my refrigerator if I'm leaving doors open. So you get things of that nature. But then you get into the whole idea, and you're talking about wine, and I love our wine units as well. We took that application process and took it a step further. So when you talk about technology, you talk about tech native people, whether it be sous vide, whether it be induction, whether it be gas, whether it be having notifications and things. Well, now take that and put it into the wine unit. And what that does is not only can you store wine in our units and inventory it, but we also created a sommelier app, and we paired it with Wine Ring and worked with them. And now we have this AI intuitive thought process. So Shannon, let's say I have no clue what wine you like, but you're inviting me over for steak. We're both in Wine Ring. I can go to my sommelier app, see what your preferences are. It'll look at my preferences. It'll look at what I own. It'll look at what we're eating, and it'll make a suggestion for me to bring to your house. So that way we both enjoy wine. That
is amazing and makes you the best guest ever.
No more Moscato that you hate. I know. Well, you might like it. You're not bringing over that wine.
I love it. That is amazing. So one of the other exciting things that you guys have going on is kind of beyond anything else that is happening out there is your virtual showroom, which is, it takes you through the process that you can see the ranges in certain positions. You can open and close doors. Can you take us on a tour of your virtual showroom?
Would love to. So the tour we're going to take you through is one that a designer out of the Pacific Northwest designed. Ms. Gaffney put this together, and what you're going to see in here is not only can you interchange products. So let's say I want to look at the range, and we're looking at this 48-inch dual fuel range that has built-in sous vide, it has induction, it has our gas, ultra high burners in the front with wok rings built into it, also the ultra low simmer in the back, allowing you to do delicate sauces down to 100 degrees. And then you can play with it. So you can open up the oven doors, and you can see that we have a steam oven in the 48-inch, and you can see that we have a convection oven. But let's say you don't want to do a range. Maybe you want to do a range top. So you can actually go into our virtual showroom, and you can alternate it and say, okay, I want to see the range top. And it'll automatically take that range out, put the range top in, cabinets come in. It looks like a full real virtual kitchen. And now, again, you can hit all the different touch points. So if I want to look at sous vide, I can open up the sous vide and learn about it. If I want to look at induction, I can go learn about induction. So it's a cool piece to get into. And Trish did a really good job with the design on this kitchen, and it allowed us to play with it as well, because you got the range, you got the range top, but you also have the wall ovens. So if you pan over and you walk over to these wall ovens, what you can see is I can put in a combi wall oven, which is a combination oven with a speed oven above it. I can put in double ovens. I can change the appearance and the effect of these, but I can also learn about them. So this gives the whole reality of how do I want to design a kitchen? What do I want it to look like? But also, how does it function? And that's what we love about the virtual kitchens that we've designed. Again, the speed oven is phenomenal on the combi piece. So you can open it up. It'll show you the inside of it. It'll tell you about it. You can open up the oven, and again, it'll show you that it has a steam reservoir in it, so that you can actually do combi steam oven in it as well. A bunch of really good talking points on that virtual kitchen tour. So we're absolutely happy with it, and glad that we brought it to market.
Yeah, I'm sure that all your design pros that you work with are happy you brought it too. I have to say, one of the things that I am so excited about to learn more about is your new products that use sous vide. I believe it really is the best. I do have a sous vide that is at the top cabinet in my kitchen. So I literally half the time I forget to bring it out. Whenever I do, I'm grateful I do, but literally it'll fall on. This has happened 3 times where it falls on my head as I'm trying to get it out. And I feel that if I just had it, on a range, I just feel like I would do it all the time. Working from home, I would throw it in there during lunchtime have dinner ready. I mean, I would be doing it every day. So could you talk to me about this technology?
Definitely. So we're actually in my kitchen. So this is my real house and this is my real range. And I do use sous vide all the time. And the point you made about, hey, I can take it, at lunchtime and at dinner time, I already have dinner ready. Mm-hmm. I do that all the time. Doesn't matter what the weather's like. So you're absolutely correct. So sous vide is technology that's been around. Well, it's been around for quite some time. It really got perfected back in the 70s. And essentially water is the best conduit for any type of temperature. So if you can get water to a constant temperature, it allows you to serve products or I hate to say proteins, but proteins or vegetables or fruits or whatever it is at the perfect temperature. So I always go to a steak. It's the easiest way to talk to people about sous vide because a lot of people overcook steak, honestly. Mm-hmm. Or they may undercook it, to be honest. They go either way. They don't know how to get the right temperature. So the easiest way to think about sous vide is I can take my frozen steak out of my freezer, put it into my water bath at whatever temperature I want to be done. I like my steaks medium rare. I put that in at about 133 degrees, and then I let it go. The hardest thing about sous vide is vacuum sealing. So if people know how to vacuum seal today, guess what? You're already there for sous vide because all I have to do is put it in a water bath and select the time. I got to go temperature, water bath, set it in, forget it. And I can let a steak go. I can let it go for about 6 hours if I want before I'm going to see any temperature difference. And it's never going to be any more done than 133 degrees, top to bottom, front to back, side to side, perfectly medium rare all the way through. And then if I want to sear it off to get the Maillard effect, if I just want to get that browning, then I put it, all I do is put it on my, I put it over to my induction, get it nice and hot. I get my pan nice and hot, sear it for a couple minutes on each side, and I can cut right into it. It's not going to bleed out, none of that. It's perfect. And I'm going to tell you the little secret. I love to sous vide at parties. So when I have a lot of people over, perfect. When I'm doing dinner parties, everybody always shows up late, always. But you want to be able to serve a lot of people. I do it always in here. So I always have the proteins or whatever I'm going to do, vegetables and proteins in here. And I'll leave the proteins in if I know I have somebody running late. Because again, that steak, never more done than what it already is. I can serve everybody, pull that out and serve these people late within less than 4 minutes. And they can join right in. It's a phenomenal way to not only be engaged in parties and have conversations and not feel like you have to have your back turned on people while you're cooking, but you also deliver a really good product at restaurant quality with no effort. It's amazing. I love sous vide.
And you're going to have the perfect wine to pair it with because you have your little app. So everyone's going to be so impressed with you.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I do, what's really exciting is we have Chef Nick Ritchie here in your Napa Valley Design Experience Center, which is, I believe, 23,000 square feet. So if you haven't been there, then you need to check that out. But Chef Nick is going to show us a little recipe, a steak recipe. So welcome, Nick. We cannot wait to get a little lesson from you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Chef Rod Gower, for basically explaining verbatim the demo I'm about to do. Because me and Rod co-conspired on this, and we thought that a large steak or a big roast would be, it's the best way to show sous vide black and white, the edge-to-edge doneness. So that's what we're gonna do. I have here, and we'll speak to the sealing. This is a raw one that I have sealed up in my sous vide pouch or bag. Salt, pepper, some basic aromatics. I use some celery seed and a couple herb leaves. And then I have preheated to 130 degrees because I'm gonna do some pan roasting. So I go a little lower, 130 degrees, and we go right into the sous vide well. Now, because we are limited time here, by the magic of TV, 4 hours later, you have this. It looks very much the same because it cooks so gently. It looks still almost raw, rare, and it is. It's 130 degrees. It's your perfect rare steak. I could eat this just like this. It's ready to go, but that's no fun. We want to do exactly what Rod said, and we're going to take it over and we're going to sear it and we're gonna produce that Maillard reaction that will create beautiful, beautiful browning. We know it's already done. So now we can concentrate all our effort and energy and fun on the searing and basting and final spice crusting of this beautiful piece of meat. The sous vide well, the Signature Kitchen Suite sous vide well, did all the hard work for us. It did all the thinking, and it took all the hard work out of this steak. Now we get to do the fun part. So I'm gonna open it up here with a sharp pair of scissors, and I am going to remove my perfect piece of meat, discard that. So, like I said, the Maillard reaction, we want this to beautifully brown. The enemy of browning meat is moisture or water. So take a little towel, pat all of the excess moisture off of your nice roast. This is a 3-pound center cut New York roast. Now, I have a little bit of coffee and coriander spice rub. I don't want my spice rub to burn and get bitter, so I'm only gonna add a little bit. There. Now, Rod has already bragged about the induction, so I am now gonna take advantage of my time and brag about our 23,000 BTU gas burner that you see heating up my cast iron pan. I turned that on 45 seconds ago and it is already hot. The only thing that heats up faster than this burner is this Boost induction burner. Little slick of oil. You want to see some smoke in your pan? Not too much. A wisp of smoke, not a billow, a wisp of smoke. Then fat side first with our nice spice rub right in the hot fat. I have my burner on high. And once again, my steak is already perfectly cooked to that rare going to mid-rare temperature on the inside. All I really want to do is get it presentable. So we want a nice hot sear on the fat side first. I have taken the liberty to prepare us a little garnish for this dish because I love the broilers on our ranges. Powerful, powerful char broilers we have. And this is our blue broiler pan, roasting pan that comes with every Signature Kitchen Suite range. I took advantage, I used it. I popped a couple Meyer lemons in the broiler, and I made some nice, beautiful roasted lemons that we will garnish, squeeze over our steak later in life. So, we're searing right along here. You see that? Beautiful brown. That's because in sous vide, the fat has cooked. This roast has cooked for 4 hours already. So the fat is already totally cooked and rendered. Now we just get to crisp it up. You no longer have that steak with a big hunk of raw white fat. The fat is rendered and perfect and crispy and will be in every single bite. So we'll go back down a little bit. I'm gonna show off like a restaurant chef, and we're gonna butter baste the steak. So I'm gonna take a large piece of butter. Springtime in the garden. We're gonna go big sage. We're gonna go big wild fennel. And we're gonna go, I brought this all from home just for you guys, Lux Magazine, and some rosemary. I have some garlic cloves here. I did not grow these, I bought these. And now I have this big pan of butter and aromatics, and we're gonna flip this perfectly brown piece of meat. Oh my God. Rod, do yours look that good?
Yeah,
I've never been over here.
Yeah, I don't butter baste all mine, I'm not gonna lie.
And here's the butter baste. And you wanna get some of your aromatics up on top of the steak. See, this is what I mean. Sous vide's done all the hard work. Now you get to play restaurant chef at home and have fun and do the basting and do the show off and do the final presentation. And you don't have to sit here and worry and fret that your steak's gonna overcook because we did the hard work here and it's perfect. Look at that, beautiful. You could bring it to the table just like that. Get all this good stuff in there and you get that roasted on all the sides. Now, for our big reveal. I really like to take it to the table like this, or to the dining room like this. Here, for anyone who's been to the training program at our Experience and Design Center here with myself, I wheel these into the dining room and often carve them on a tableside cart, which that shouldn't go there. Some interior designer's gonna get very mad at me about that, but you know it's cooking, things happen, you gotta go fast. So, I like to get a little more spice rub coating my roast. There's a lot of meat here. The spice is the flavor. I don't like to put all the spice on at the beginning because it will burn in the pan and it will turn bitter and you will ruin all your spice rub. So sprinkle a little bit on before you sear and then roll the rest in. This is coffee, coriander, fennel, paprika, and something else. Go to signaturekitchensuite.com and get the recipe and you'll know what's in there. Okay, so here we're gonna go. Here's the deal. I don't know if Rod gave you the edge-to-edge doneness line, but the red meat sous vide, that's what you get, edge-to-edge doneness. If you go to a steakhouse, you get a medium rare steak and it's not cooked sous vide. You're gonna get a steak that has a perfect bullseye of mid-rare in the middle, but it's gonna have this big gray ring around the outside, and that's a very traditional steak. Now, in sous vide, drum roll, see if I did it right. Ooh, here's the reveal. Come on, Rod, come on. So, edge to edge doneness. If you see, there is no gray anywhere. There is perfect mid-rare cook, 131 degrees. Oh, it's hot, very hot. From edge, from edge to edge. Look, it looks like roast beef in the deli case, but it is prime New York steak. It's hot, and it is, there is not one bite in there that's not perfect. And you saw how easy that was. I literally put it in a bag, into the sous vide well. I went and made a couple cocktails, and now you have thick slice. This will feed, this is a 6-pound roast, or a 3-pound roast. That'll give you 5 to 6 beautiful portions of, come on, every portion is perfect. Look at that. And the fat is perfectly cooked, and you're gonna take some of these broiled lemons out of the Signature Kitchen Suite char broiler that I have below me. We're gonna do some English lavender flowers, just because we can, and some wild fennel fronds. These grow in my front yard garden, the wild fennel, okay? Then we're gonna take, oh, tune in, hashtag SKS Chef, Instagram TV. I just did a great Instagram TV pickles video, and I happen to have in my Signature Kitchen Suite all metal interior refrigerator some of these beautiful pickled spring onions that we're just gonna scatter over as a nice little garnish. And man, I was just supposed to show you guys a steak, and you got a full-on plated dish. Little drizzle of olive oil, and a big flaky pinch of salt. And I'm glad that there's 2 people watching me, because this is way too much food for me to eat myself. So there you have it. I know the smell-o-vision jokes continue through the pandemic here. There it is. And you saw how easy that was. I don't know how long exactly that took me, but not long. And you can see novice cook to professional restaurant chef, that can be accomplished at home. Look at that. Springtime flowers, lemons, steak, very few ingredients there. Perfect technique, perfect technology. That is true to food. That is as true to food as food gets.
Thank you so much, Chef Nick. We really appreciate it. Once I can travel again, then I will be sure to get out to your Napa Valley showroom so I can try it in person.
Please do. I have been cooking way too much food for just me and the cameraman to eat.
And could you remind me and our viewers what products the sous vide option is available with?
So we have the sous vide module built into our 48 and 36 inch ranges, all the dual fuel ranges, as well as our dual fuel range tops.
Wonderful.
So if you're looking for a 36 or 48 inch range or range top, it's available.
Awesome. And they can see it on your virtual showroom.
come out to signaturekitchensuite.com, go to the virtual showroom, play with it, and have some fun and learn about the products.
Awesome. I can't wait to get back on there. Thank you, both Rod and Chef Nick, Chef Rod and Chef Nick.
Chef Rod.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. This has made me very hungry, but I really appreciate it. Thanks again. And thank you to our DesignTV viewers.
Our education teaches people, and like not just kids, but people in general, to think outside of what you know. It's like, I can't even explain to words, like our education is needed. You need art in your life to flourish.
The reason why it's important for kids to grow up having art classes, it stimulates a different kind of imagination and creativity.
Creativity, exploring art, exploring music, exploring theater, you know, these creative outlets. At least for me, it was a way to find myself and to find my voice. And especially in a place like Philadelphia, you look at the way schools are often like underfunded or don't have as much resources. Like walking into an art class and having 30 minutes to an hour to just like for your own can be a real escape for a lot of these kids. Like, it was an escape for me.
Growing up as a kid, I wasn't really a social kid. I wasn't really an outward kid. I wasn't really a loud kid. I was really to myself. And drawing was like that outlet for me.
So being creative, being able to adapt, being able to collaborate is something that can happen in all classrooms, but it always inherently happens in the art classroom.
When I was younger, I didn't quite fit into the one-size-fits-all public education system, and I struggled academically. And the only time that I really felt success was when I was in my art class. And when I realized that students in Philadelphia and students around the United States didn't have access to art programs, I really wanted to make sure that students who were creative, who might have come from a similar background as me, had that access so that they could feel success.
Art has a purpose for making kids really see themselves in a different way. And that is really important if you're as battered by life as a lot of the kids that we meet are, by lack of money or a roof over their heads or enough to eat. And the fact that they know they can make something that people truly treasure, not just mom or auntie or grandma, is something that we put in their back pockets to pull out when they need it.
The genesis of Fresh Artists happened during a project that Barbara and I were working on. This was in 2007. The school district of Philadelphia had just consolidated all of their 10 offices throughout the city into one major office downtown. And he brought Barbara in to bring the face of the children into the building, where we were using large format digital printing, reproducing student artwork to fit the grand scale of this building. Sort of one day, Barbara and I just had this aha moment, seeing all of the funding disappearing from the school district, all of the people that just had moved in 6 months ago, getting their pink slips and moving out of the building because the school district had lost all of its funding because of the economic crisis, where we sort of realized that we had a great need in the school district of Philadelphia. Their budget had gone from 83 cents per child about for art supplies to $0.
My first year teaching, I had $0 as an art budget. I was given a pack of copy paper, some old markers, and some pencils.
They just had nothing to work with. They had no supplies, no budget.
So seeing this need in the school district and then stumbling upon this solution of these artworks. So while we were hanging the artwork in the building, the contractors would be coming in to service the telephone system or sell photocopiers or lunch school programs. And every single one of them would pass one of these large-scale reproductions of a kindergartner's artwork and say, "That is amazing, where can I get one of those?"
We'd seen the success of these ginormous pieces put up all over the building with everybody wanting one, which of course we couldn't give them because they weren't ours to give. But what if we went to the kids and asked them to be part of the solution and to create from the very beginning DNA of Fresh Artists, the idea that the child is empowered as the first giver. And I thought, we'll start a nonprofit and we'll address all of the proceeds to go directly to fix the problem, which was lack of resources for the art teachers.
So the initial presentation, about Fresh Artists and what the organization is about and what they would do for us was met with a lot of skepticism. I think a lot of people thought, why is this important? These are people who spend their days working with clients who are from very traumatized backgrounds. Typically, public defenders are underfunded as a system. And so our attorneys, our social workers, our investigators are very busy, and they are constantly on the move in and out of the courtroom. And so of all the things to prioritize and all of the things to focus on, there was the sense of why art. We need a new copier. Our printer breaks down every other week. They didn't understand why I wanted to bring art in. I think people underestimate the power of art in a space, and to go from a beige or gray wall and then to put the art in and watch people's reaction to that art, to marvel that this was done by a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old. And it really changed the space.
We never really had an office where we were proud of bringing clients in and have our employees be happy to work there. And the picture that's outside my office, I know the story of the young girl who actually drew that picture, and it just makes your heart happy, just because she's actually changing my life. When I'm having a bad day, I just look out and I'm just like, wow, it's awesome that they're touching our lives every day.
Pediatric Special Care is a residential program for medically fragile children. So the children reside in our program. It could be short-term, it could be transitional. We were getting ready to open up our Philadelphia location, and I was looking for essentially children's art to bring the building to life. And some of our children are cognitively devastated, while some are ambulatory and can interact. And so it just has such a positive presence in the building, and not just for the children, but for the families and for the staff members.
It's extremely inspiring to corporations to think, wow, I'm not the only one giving to help kids access art. The children are actually the ones who are the first donors.
Our philanthropists are short, multicolored, multicultural, and what we're trying to do is change the paradigm, because it feels so good to give. And I think that the coolest thing about Fresh Artists is that we are imparting that to kids.
I believe that they can grow up and do and be whatever they want to. And when you're a kid, I don't know if you really believe that that's truth. But Fresh Artists really made it tangible. So they took something that they worked on in class or in the design lab and turned it into something that could be sold, could be seen by people, could be purchased and hung in their house.
At the end of the program, I believe she was the art director of the Land Nod. She came in and she said, based on how you work, here are careers that I feel like all of you would fit into really well. And I feel like this was a very special moment for me, because it definitely led me to where I am now. Because she said she loved how I commanded the room, how I kind of took charge. She said, you will be an amazing art director. And then as soon as I found out what it was, I was like, yes. It literally became a sense of, an epiphany-like situation where I'm like, wow, I can actually do that.
Through Fresh Artists' many different programs that we've designed over the years, what we hope is that we open that door in that creative child, in their minds, to the possibilities that everything around them has been designed thoughtfully. And I think unlocking that seed in their brain of seeing the world just a little bit differently through a different lens, coupled with the understanding that they have something to give back to the world that may not exist yet, but the possibilities that they can create those things.
When I walk into Fresh Artists, I feel safe. I feel like my art will not be looked at differently here. I feel like it'll be celebrated as much as I celebrate my own art.
This really is not about learning to make art. The art is what transports you. The design, the creativity is what transports you into a whole person. There is a feeling of well-being. I think that is, you can't beat it. There's a great comment from a teacher when I said, well, what did Jeremy say when you told him he got the invitation? And she said, he immediately walked taller, and he never stopped walking tall.